Hello, good morning, Unity of Springfield. I'm so happy to be joining with you today live, kind of sort of from your very own sanctuary. How clever is that? My name is Reverend Aliza Robinson, and I am your transitional consultant. I have been contracted with your board and I've been serving your ministry for a while now. A couple of weeks ago, I was there live in person and we did a really powerful 3 keys to transition, to any transition work. I'll be there again the weekend of July 9th and 10th, so please mark your calendar. I'm sure you're hearing all about that and I'll speak about that right as I wrap up my talk time today too. But for today, here I am. Live in person, kind of sort of, through the powers of technology. Today we're talking about freedom. Freedom, freedom, freedom and peace, right? Freedom and peace. But what is freedom really? And is it freedom from or freedom to? And how do we access this God-given right to freedom in the midst of whatever's going on in our life, in the midst of whatever's going on in our country, in the midst of whatever's going on in our world? Because freedom is a God-given right. It is also a right bestowed upon us by our Declaration of Independence. And since it is 4th of July weekend, which is completely about hot dogs on the grills and s'mores and boating on the lake, right? Not initially, but it was about our freedom as a country. And our Declaration of Independence says that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is our freedom. It is our God-given right. It is the right of all of us on this planet, but in this country for sure. So life, right? Life, here we are in life. Liberty is that freedom, really, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, it never said happiness was guaranteed, right? That was not, that's an inside job. But today I want to just dive into this thought about freedom and what it really is from a spiritual perspective, right? We've got a lot of things going on in our country, and I'm not going to talk specifics, but I am going to talk about moral human rights to who we be and our choices, and how our choices either create our own freedom or detract us from our freedom. So I'd like to start with a joke. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's a 4th of July joke. I can only tell this once a year, so here it is, okay? I find it ironic that the colors red, white, and blue stand for our freedom until they're flashing behind you. I know. That was bad. Anyway, I just have to get my joke in. So, so when we look at freedom, we look at and I want to play with a couple different analogies as we explore this today. Are we free? Are we looking for freedom from, or are we looking for freedom to? And I want you to think about that in your own life and when you're dealing with things, when you're looking at your own experience. Are we looking for freedom from? I want freedom from oppression and repression and, I want freedom from all that. But the spiritual principle of freedom is not that. It is freedom to choose, freedom to be, no matter what is going on in the outer world. So we think about like teenagers, right? Some of us have teenage kids, maybe teenage grandkids, maybe. And as a teenager, and not talking any specific teenager, but as sort of a cultural stage in evolution. We want freedom. We want freedom. We want freedom. We want to be able to take the car. We want to be able to do what we want to do. We want to have no curfew. We want to have no rules. But that's a freedom from the structure that is in place to keep them safe. But freedom too also includes, oh, I got beeping in my computer. It also includes that liberty. It also includes a natural consequence. It also includes not so much an obligation, but a responsibility. And so when we activate freedom as a spiritual principle, then we're activating within ourselves also that self-sovereign, but self-sovereign for the greater good, that self-sovereign that includes that personal responsibility. When I am responsible for myself in the collective called humanity, then I live and move and have my being in a very different way, juxtaposed with the teenager who is very not yet self-aware and doesn't know it, right? So we're leaning into a greater awareness of a spiritual law. In community, we are free within the structure. So the structure is actually what creates our freedom. The structure of good behavior, of conscious awareness, the structure gives us freedom to be within the structure. It's kind of a spiritual paradox, but I love talking about spiritual paradoxes anyway, so it works really well for me. So if you think of water without structure, like water on your tabletop makes a mess. If it has no container, no structure. Water in the world with no structure or container is called a swamp or a marsh. When you get in a swamp and a marsh, often a mess. Well, sometimes they're inappropriate swamps and marshes, right? But if we're looking for a structure for our water, the structure of a lake, for example, gives water certain principles. The structure, the dams of a river give water a certain structure. And within that structure, water is free to be all that it's here to be. And yet there are differences in those containers, differences in those structures. So the best way to create freedom is within the context of a structure. Paradoxical, yes, also sort of unintuitive by nature. But roll with me here. See if you can like, see where we're going. And maybe this is all like really relative in this moment to what we're standing in. For example, if somebody says to me that you're an artist and I don't feel like I am, and they say, well, go create a piece of art. I go like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know where to start. I have no container for that. Versus if I take an art class or an art workshop and they say, we're going to create a piece of art that is individually yours, but here's your canvas, here's your paint, and here's where to start. You feel how there's so much more freedom inside that structure than just blanket, go do it. Like, I don't want to do it, right? Within ministries, our structures are given to us by design of our foundations. So some of our structures are our bylaws, our policies, our procedures, our covenants, which I'll get to in a minute. But within structure, there are universal laws. There are universal laws that are based on the law of vibration and energy. Now we're going to go a little quantum here because that's where I like to play. So if you are a builder of any kind, the laws of structure, whether you're building a temple, pyramid in Egypt, whether you're building a skyscraper or you're building a tiny house, the laws of structure are the same. And those are tied up in some basics. Number one, all of matter is vibration. How we operate together is vibration. And they are composed structures and how we operate together on different layers of vibration coming together to create a whole. All conscious energy vibrates and therefore manifests in accordance with a higher law, spiritual law, beyond physical, metaphysical law, if you will. The geometric form, which is basically your blueprint and your intention, or to use the language of Joe Dispenza and Reverend Aliza Bloom Robinson, intention and vibration. When you hold intention with vibration, you manifest much more quickly and much more consciously. So the form, the intention and the blueprint, or the intention and the vibration, when they are clear, give you a much quicker manifestation of that which you are desiring. The more perfect these are, the more harmonized it comes together. If they're not in alignment, then you get chaos. It's just a spiritual law. Consciousness is constantly moving and transforming. Therefore, we as individual and we as a ministry are also constantly moving and transforming. So change is both guaranteed, essential, and inevitable. So I shouldn't say both, right? Change is guaranteed, essential, and inevitable for evolution. So in spiritual community, we have the same, right? We have the laws of structure. Within our structure, with our intention and our blueprint or our vibration, we can create amazing things. If our intention is not clear or our vibration is not clear, we can get chaos. Now, chaos is not bad, because often it is chaos that leads to productive change. But within our structure, we have created, or a few years ago, you all, Unity of Springfield, created some mutual covenants, and that is part of our structure of being together. Now, remember, I'm talking about structure as a tool for freedom. Within the context of our structure, we have great freedom. So some of those covenants, and we'll be diving into this because it came up at the board level to sort of reactivate those or bring those back into consciousness. Now they're in your bulletin, and perhaps today you've got a little card if you're live in the sanctuary with these 6 covenants on them. And we'll be providing some more documentation on that, and we'll be providing some more awareness on that as we go over through these next few months. But they are, those lemonade cards are for you to use. You know, put them on your dashboard, put them on your bathroom mirror, put them in your purse if you carry a purse, keep them handy. Because not only are they very powerful spiritual principles, they also, if you keep them in your awareness, will begin to expand your consciousness, will begin to expand the sense of cohesiveness and coherence inside this ministry. As we expand on that, as we deepen that, then our movement forward becomes very much more conscious. So the first one is use I statements in talking to somebody or about something. I am having this experience. I think this. I own my own experience. I speak only for myself. I do not speak for my neighbor. And in the context of this as a structure, it keeps the container clean. It keeps the intention high. And when I don't do that, when I come in and go, well, he said, and she said, and they, this, it gets messy. And messy can look like blame, it can look like shame, it can look like anger, it can look like hurt. Now, when I say I, then I own my own. I'm having the experience of, I'm telling the story that the story I'm making up about this is that. We're going to do a lot more about story is coming next weekend, so stay tuned. Second one is I listen with the intention to understand. And I will take responsibility for clarifying the information by speaking directly using compassionate communication. Now, yesterday, my husband, Rob, some of you met Rob last time I was there. We were out on the boat and we had his daughter and her 3 kids and then another friend. And we were trying to navigate something. We're new boaters, so we're still learning. And we're still learning our communication styles, even though we've been married 10 years and together for 16. So he's trying to get me as the boat driver to navigate something and to do something. And I can't figure out what he wants me to do, really. I hear what he's saying to me, but I don't get the picture behind why he wants me to do what he wants me to do. So with one of the tools that I learned many years ago when my kids were little. And I said, I need your eyes on me. He's over here and he's trying to get me to do something. I'm like, no, I need your eyes. I need to know what you're thinking in your request, because I can't do your request completely without knowing more. So I become responsible for clarifying my information. It's like, you know what I mean? I'm like, no, I don't know what you mean. So I own it. But again, I'm like, I don't know. Not, you're telling me wrong. You're not giving me, see that difference? It's like, it keeps us clean. Third one is I respect others by maintaining confidentiality. We talk a lot about this in our workshops and when we do all of the work we do. Confidentiality is I speak for myself and my experience. I don't share somebody else's experience, never. I don't share the good news, I don't share the bad news. It's not mine to share unless I have explicit permission, but that's a different agreement, right? Number 4, I'm authentic and transparent in relating to others and open and receptive to another person's truth. That means I'm having this experience. What experience are you having? I'm understanding it to be this way. How are you understanding it to be? These are so simple and they're basic, but they're also profound, because what we can begin to realize is how often we don't listen. Truly. Sorry to share that with you, but it's sort of, humanity. And so there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong about that. We're just getting better at it. We're just getting more conscious about it. Number 5, I accept responsibility and want to be held accountable with compassion for my commitments, conversations, and actions. Now, I was doing a board training for a different ministry recently, and we spent a lot of time on a statement by Tom Reiner that says, I'm not going to be able to pull that quite exactly. It basically says that our most important, our key to leadership is not being held accountable. It is the willingness to be held accountable, right? It's the willingness. So with this number 5, I become willing. I accept responsibility and want to, being willing to be held accountable, which means I do what I say I'm going to do and I don't do what I say I'm not going to do. And I keep coming closer. I keep leaning in rather than running away from it, right? And that gives me such freedom, and it gives you the same freedom to be. And number 6, I value the joy in being part of this spiritual community and support its thriving by sharing my talents, energy, and financial gifts. I value the joy. Now, last time I was there, we talked about joy and how it already is there. And there's so much joyous excitement already in the field. So we pay attention to that and we value it. We don't take it for granted, but we speak into it. We speak into it by saying, I see your joy. I feel my joy. I have joy about this. So we begin to speak in ways that not only hold us in deeper connection, but fuel the field with our intention, which is joyous community, which is our biggest, boldest, most brilliant becomingness, which is divine potential for miraculous outcomes, with our vibration of being clear and clean and coherent in our communication, in our relationships with each other. And so as we begin again to deepen our skills, to awaken again our consciousness of how and why we be together, that activates even more joy. It activates even more cohesive connection. It activates in us a consciousness that is more expanded than before. When we do that, we line up with our biggest, boldest, most brilliant becomingness. We line up as a united organization for our future evolution right now. So that leads me in a very kind of easy sort of segue to an invitation, a very clear invitation to you and you and you and you and you and you. Every single person is invited to attend our Saturday process of sacred listening circles. I'm going to be presenting some really powerful practices, and we're going to begin to tell the story of Unity of Springfield. We're going to begin to let every person have their voice be heard. And from that comes this super powerful, healing, spiritually expansive, inspiring connection, because we're fueling the field of freedom. We're fueling the field of conscious, coherent communication and connection. Every one of these workshops is designed as a standalone and as a stepping stone for all of the work that we do together. So whether you've been here one time, whether you've never been here, you only watch online, whether you've been here for 50 plus years, you are invited and encouraged to come. That'll be Saturday, the 9th of July. It's from 10 to 3, I believe. There's flyers, there's information, there's all kinds of everything you need to know. We want to know you're coming because we are providing lunch. Thank you, team, for providing us lunch. And I so look forward to being with you together again next week. So freedom. We are inherently free as we embody, as we integrate, as we activate the spiritual principle of freedom to lean in together. We lean in and we say, Unity of Springfield is divine potential in action. And we know this through our joyous excitement and warm, unified movement. We're working on our statement. We're going to nail it real quick, and then we're going to have it for everybody. But we are divine potential in action. When we lean in to what that could be for us, when we are clear in our structures to be the freedom of all of our becoming, life gets really, really, really exciting. And so does ministry. Let's take this idea into a moment of meditation. Take a breath in. Close your outer eyes and feel your awareness dropping deep into the center of your being. You know there is but one presence and one power active in the universe. We call it God, and God is good all the time. as we drop into this knowing, into this awareness, into this conscious awareness, we feel within us an action of the truth, an activation in the soul of our being for our biggest, boldest, most brilliant becomingness. We feel within us that activation of the field of freedom to be, freedom to be individual and part of the collective, freedom that comes with a responsibility. Freedom that comes from knowing that when I take care of myself, others are cared for. When I take care of others, I am cared for. Not at anybody's expense, but for a greater good. Activating the very cells of your being, a sense of freedom. Let that activation open in you a new possibility for yourself and for our ministry. Take a moment, feel that activating. If there's some place in your life where you're not feeling free, breathe freedom into it. If it's a place in your body, breathe freedom into it. If it's a place in your mind, breathe freedom into it. If it's a place in the world, breathe freedom into it. Freedom that comes from knowing we are divine expressions of that one force we call God, source, creation, co-creation, the universe itself. By divine right of being, we claim our freedom now. And by divine right of freedom, we claim, Unity of Springfield, we are divine potential in action. Feel the freedom in that statement. And we know that through our joyous excitement. Feel that. Joyous excitement activated in the field. Or unified movement. Feel our possibility. And feel your own growing edge. As we deepen our consciousness, as we expand our experience. I am freedom in expression. We are freedom in expression. And so it is. Take a breath. And so we let it be. Amen and amen. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you real soon.